Okay. Oh, hold on. All right. So, okay. Hi, my name is Victoria O'Banion, and I lead in cooperative housing development. My colleague here, Yadira, also works with me. We work at the Northwest Cooperative Development Center, which is a cooperative development. We help businesses become cooperatives across the Pacific Northwest. We work in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And yeah, okay. This is the start of the present. This is the first slide. Um, so this is a program that we're calling Home Together. Home Together is a partnership between Parkview Services, and unfortunately, Parkview Services is not able to be here. Loretta was going to join us, but Loretta is sick, and then other things. But this is a vision from the executive director at Parkview Services, and this has been apparently on his whiteboard in his office for the past like 5 years of an idea. Um, and about 6-ish months ago, we came together and we said, "Hey, like Mark, your vision is completely possible, and let's work together to make it happen." So the idea is that we are creating an opportunity for individuals with an IDD to become homeowners through cooperative ownership. And what that means, I will dig into like what is cooperative ownership and all of that stuff in the next
I'm gonna
probably
get a
about
notebook from
30, 45
upstairs.
minutes. I have all of this on a slide deck. The slide that I have it in print and I will give it to you. I don't want to give it to you now because then you're going to flip through the end and all the way to the back before I get to answer all the questions. So all of this is going to be given to you, so you don't have to worry about taking notes, and we're recording it, so you'll be able to have that dialogue as well. Okay, so I've explained what Home Together is, and yeah, and kind of the vision. The vision really is to give people the opportunity to live independently, practice democratic decision making, and gain modest wealth. And I know that that sounds kind of scary right now to say modest wealth because I know that we're protecting individuals' ability to access services and all of that. Hi, go ahead and join us. Um, but we will talk about that in just a second and why we believe that we're okay in that area. Okay. What is a housing cooperative? A housing cooperative is a group of people coming together to purchase an asset, a housing asset. So you can have a housing cooperative in a single family home. A group of people can come together and purchase the single family home and live in that single family home. There is many in Seattle. There's actually one in Spokane. But you can also do that in an apartment building. You can do that in a duplex. You can do that in a manufactured housing community. You can do that in any type of housing
I
environment.
see.
The cooperative is is unique because it is individuals coming together, not just a single person in the ownership structure. Um, a limited equity cooperative is an arrangement that maintains the affordability because it limits the limited equity that an individual can get when they exit the cooperative. And that's typically seen in a resale formula. And I will get into what that means in just a second. Um, when you are a member of the cooperative, you are a share owner of that business. So then you own whatever that cooperative purchase is you co-own that with your other fellow like cooperative members, right? Um, Typically we think about like a grocery store being a cooperative, and that's people coming together to say like collectively we need all of these groceries and it's cheaper and easier for us to buy it in bulk. So we're going to buy it in bulk and then we're going to divvy it out and that is a consumer cooperative specifically. This is a housing cooperative. Same concept, but for housing. Um, no, I want to go forward. Okay. Is a business. Yes, limited equity cooperatives are a business. Like most apartments or townhomes, the cooperative is responsible for collecting monthly fees from the residents, maintaining the condition of the property, enforcing the community rules. again, the key difference is that in a landlord, the landlord owns the property, the landlord controls the rules, the landlord is responsible for maintaining the property or maybe not maintaining the property, depending on what's going on. In a limited equity cooperative, the people that live there get the autonomy to be able to control all of that. They get the autonomy to control the rules. They get the autonomy to make the business decisions for the cooperative. And they do that through democratic control. What is democratic control? Is led by members. So a cooperative is a business owned by its members. And in the cooperative are people that come in and they make decisions in collaboration. Residents become members of the cooperative by paying a share fee. That typically is between $10,000 to $50,000. And then they sign a membership agreement. When they pay the $10,000 to $15,000, they get the perpetual right to live in that building, to live in that manufactured housing community or in that apartment building. So that $10,000 to $50,000 is their access, it's their pass to get in. The $10,000 to $50,000, that is set by the cooperative. The cooperative makes the decision of what is that share fee, what is the buy-in cost. Oh, that's good. I want to grab that. Let me grab a chair. Okay. So they become a member, they pay the $10,000 to $50,000, then they have the right to vote, they have the right to make decisions for the cooperative business. They become a co-owner in the cooperative, whatever the cooperative owns. Unit forever, that's the perpetual right to live in it. And they pay a carrying charge. I will go into what a carrying charge is in a minute. Okay, making sure that I covered everything on that slide. What is democratic control? I keep saying democratic control. They have it's a democratic decision-making process. One member, one vote. So if there is a cooperative of 15 people, annually that group of people is going to get together and they're going to create a budget. They're going to look at what the finances are for the cooperative business. They're going to potentially amend a rule, say that they have a rule that says nobody can have cats, no cats in the building at all. And over the past year, everybody wants a cat. They keep saying we should have cats. We need to change that so we can have cats. So at their annual meeting, they're going to come together. They're going to discuss the budget. They're going to change any rules that they want to change. So they would be able to vote to change that. And if Darby's like, no, we should never have cats. We should never have cats in the building, right? Mm-hmm. He can cast his vote and he might be the only no. And 14 other people say, yes, we're going to have cats. And the democratic decision-making process is going to say, majority wins, we're going to have cats. Sorry, Darby. And so then they will go forward with cats. And then the next year, Darby's going to come back and say, we need to change this. I was serious with no cats. And Darby's going to petition to say, let's change this rule. Let's remove the cats. And they're going to have a dialogue, right? Maybe there will be a time where they reverse the rule and go back to no cats. But they're going to collectively make decisions together through that democratic decision-making process. They vote on major budgets, construction projects, changing the community rules, amending the cooperative's bylaws. So it's one member, one vote. So you might have, if you're in a manufactured housing community, you might have 2 adults that are living in that house. That house is the member. That household is the member. So that household only gets 1 vote. They don't get 2. They get 1. Day-to-day operations are overseen by the board of directors. So the board of directors will meet on a monthly or weekly basis to make business decisions for the cooperative. They are empowered through an empowerment resolution to make specific decisions. Those decisions are typically related to, signing vendor contracts for critical repairs, or working with their property management company to review the financial statements of the business, to discuss rule violations. So somebody keeps sneaking in that cat that, that they're not supposed to have a cat. So they're going to be looking at that rule violation. They're going to be talking with their property management company, and the board of directors is going to be empowered to make day-to-day business decisions for the cooperative.
Do you have questions along the way or at the end? Good question.
Good question. I think the next slide is actually a review slide. So can we pause for questions there? Two more. But oh yeah, this one is a big one. So that seems like a lot of autonomy and control. And the purpose of a cooperative is to give the members of the cooperative business autonomy and control. What if they take it too far, right? So this is where an asset steward comes in, and most cooperatives, it is a full house.
Pretty amazing.
It is. So most cooperatives, if not all cooperatives, are going to have an asset steward. This is typically a nonprofit third-party organization that is written into the Articles of Incorporation and the bylaws, and it says that the cooperative cannot change specific things and must maintain the asset. So an asset steward, in this case, the asset steward would probably be both Parkview Services and Northwest Cooperative Development Center. So if the cooperative stopped paying their property tax, we would be notified. It would be our responsibility to ensure that the cooperative paid their property tax. If the cooperative failed to make critical repairs that threatened the habitability of the asset that they owned, Northwest Cooperative Development Center and Parkview Services would step in and say, you have to do this. If the cooperative for any reason, like defaulted on their loan or went into foreclosure, which would not happen, but should it happen, that asset would be absorbed and given to Northwest Cooperative Development Center and Parkview Services. So that asset steward is really a stopgap between like catastrophic failure and dangerous financial situations and the autonomy that can be given through the cooperative ownership. Yeah. They also would not be able to sell the business. So if in the middle of the night, the board of directors got together and they created a very great plan to let's sell the business, we'll all be really rich and it'll be really great, they would not be able to sell the business because it's recorded on the Articles of Incorporation that they have to have permission from Parkview Services and Northwest Cooperative Development Center before they did that. This is not just this cooperative, this is every cooperative. I currently work with 33 other cooperatives across the state, and they all have an asset steward for this exact reason. Okay, quick recap. Members are the people who live in the apartment. Members collectively own the business that owns the building. Members vote on the rules, the budget, repairs, and the building, and the board of directors makes sure that everything gets done with help from the property manager. Questions on what is a limited equity cooperative?
How does it vary between like a condo association?
It's so similar to a condo association, except that there is some legal stuff, statute stuff, and the resale restriction is different from a condo association. So in a condo, you might not have a resale restriction, but think condo association and then mix it with a lot more democratic control, a lot more individuals getting voice and vote than in an HOA.
Okay, and the voice and vote thing, I assume a lot of people with an intellectual developmental disability have guardians
Mhm.
and can't really legally make decisions
Mhm.
like that. So
Yeah.
how does that work?
That's a great question. I have a slide on that specifically later, but like the, like,
Okay.
yeah.
And then what about the board of directors? Where does that come from?
So the board of directors is elected by the members. So the members elect a 5-person board of directors.
Of people that live there,
Of people that live there.
that have limited cognitive
Yeah.
development.
Mhm. Yeah. And,
Okay.
and we believe that they have, we believe that through coaching and support from us and Parkview Services, that we would be able to support them.
What about the legal decision makers for those people?
That's, we'll get into the, like, who makes the decision. We'll talk about that in just
Okay.
a second. Yeah. But does like the business of it make sense? Yeah, I know. And you asked me for this here.
So,
You're taking notes on like a small.
yeah, thank you. Is the $10,000 to $50,000 fee refundable if the person leaves?
Yes, that is what they get back. So that's where the equity is limited. So if they put $10,000 in and the cooperative bylaws say that you get 3% every year, like you can gain 3% equity every year. And after a year, they decide to move out. They're going to sell that share, sell that $10,000 then for $13,000, right? Yeah, no. 10,300. Yeah, 10,300. And so then they sell it for $10,300 to the next member. So that person made $300. That's why it's limited. That doesn't seem like a lot, but why would you leave after a year? But it's limited, but it also locks in permanent affordability. So take that over, 10, 15 years. When they go and sell that share, it is going to be permanently affordable. It's going to be affordable compared to any market rate housing that's increasing at a higher rate.
What about if the person were to pass away and Social Security comes back for payback?
Great question. I don't have the answer to that question right now, but hold that. Yadira's gonna write it down in her head and keep it. That's why you're here, Yadira.
Whose name is actually for the apartment or the condo or the home?
The building itself, the whole building, the cooperative's name is on the loan for the building.
So that would be the next question, the finance.
Next section,
Next.
next section, yes.
I'd like to segue off her question too, because that's something I've been looking at. And we're using a special needs trust. So could a special needs trust be a member?
I think that that's most likely the answer. So yes,
Okay.
special needs trust, like these are all really like the financing and the structure. We know that we want to make sure we protect assets, that we don't get into a situation where some benefit is removed because it's seen that the person has an asset. I promise you that we will be working with a ton of attorneys to make sure that everything is set up correctly. So, because the last thing that we want and Parkview Services want is for us not to think through something and then have an adverse like reaction or a bad effect, right? Okay, I'm gonna go to the next section. Okay, loan. So the cooperative gets the loan, not the individual financing. So now we're going to talk about like, we're going to go buy a 15-unit apartment building in North Spokane. So we are buying a 15-unit apartment building. The cooperative is buying that apartment. The cooperative is taking the loan, not individuals. That cooperative business is taking on that loan. Again, like we're not associating that loan with any individual social security number or benefit ID. Like it is the UBI and the EIN of that cooperative business that gets the loan. Who is going to give a brand new business that doesn't even exist right now a loan for $2 million? Right? I don't, so that's a lot of money. So most banks don't have a type of loan for limited equity cooperatives. Instead, the lenders that we would be working with are mission driven and often nonprofit. These are credit unions, state banks, CDFIs. CDFI stands for Community Development Financial Institution. I just blanked. These are nonprofit banks that are managed by the Treasury. So big banks have to give money back, and that money back is funneled through CDFIs who do mission-driven investment. We have already talked with several banks, local banks and credit unions that are very interested in this project. They're very, very much interested into it because they see this as an opportunity to serve low and moderate income households. They see it as an opportunity to be creative and exploratory, and they're very interested in it. Is there a down payment requirement? So if you were going to go buy a $2 million 15-unit apartment in North Spokane, most lenders are not going to give you the full $2 million, right? They're going to give you 70% of it, 70% of the loan to value. That remaining portion, that 30%, that's where that share loan comes in. So that share loan is going to come in, that member's equity is going to come in and be the difference that is needed to be able to purchase that asset. So that's why that 10 to 50, I don't know, because I haven't played with the pro forma. I don't know what asset we're buying. I don't know how many people are going to be in it. So that, that's where that share loan. And so that $10,000 to $15,000, which is your membership fee, your share, comes in the form of a share loan.
I have a question on that, but you're gonna recap.
Yes, I will recap again. Let me go back one more slide to talk about share loans. A share loan can be like if you have $10,000 to $50,000 right now in cash, great, fantastic. I'm happy for you. I do not. But you also can get a personal loan from a bank to contribute your equity. We're looking at grants that will be available to be able to take the place of that share loan. But that is the individual's contribution. So that is the only type of loan that the individual would need to be able to be part of the cooperative. So those are two, like the building is bought by the cooperative. That's a traditional mortgage loan. The share loan is a personal loan, and that is up to the individual to secure. Yeah.
So, so if someone wants to go, I'm sorry, I should let you finish.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So how
I
is
still want to forget the question.
So how is the cooperative's loan repaid? The cooperative's loan is repaid through a carrying charge. I talked about it earlier. So each individual is going to pay a monthly fee. That monthly fee is going to cover the operating expenses and the debt of the cooperative. So if it costs the cooperative $10,000 a month to operate, pay the mortgage, pay the property management company, and there's 10 people living in the building, they're each going to pay $1,000 a month to cover all of those cooperative expenses. It feels like rent, but it's a carrying charge in the cooperative world.
So that can go up.
It would go up if water went up 3%, then that would go up 3%. But the carrying charges only covers what's needed to operate the business, and it's part of the budgeting. That's what they look at the annual budget. It doesn't change month by month. You would look at it at an annual basis, look at the annual budget of the business and say, oh, we brought in too much last year, we can reduce, or we know that our property taxes are going to go up 3% or 4% or whatever they go up. So we need to increase the budget accordingly. I will say that most of the time it's pretty flat. That monthly fee is pretty flat. The best example that I have for you is there is a cooperative in North Spokane. They purchased their multifamily or their asset in 2016. In 2016, they started to pay $375 a month. And this is 2016, so that's right. They're currently paying $380 a month. And so it has gone up by $5 for them. And so, yeah, they're looking at a refinance right now. So their loan was a 10-year loan. They're looking at refinancing, and they probably will have to, even with today's interest rates, they're probably looking at like $390 maybe is what they would have to be paying every month. So the idea is that, yes, it could change, that carrying charge could change, but it's going to change with the cost of services. It's not going to arbitrarily change. Nobody's going to want, in a landlord environment, it could arbitrarily change for whatever the landlord wanted it to be. In this environment, it's changed really by the cost of operations. Okay, so quick recap. The LEC, the cooperative, gets the loan. The members get a loan for the building. The members get a share loan, which brings the 30% difference equity that's needed to purchase the building. And each member pays a carrying charge every month, which is the cooperative's operating expenses, divided by the number of people that live in the community. Okay, questions? Yes.
Does Section 8 come into this anywhere?
Good question.
Oh, and yes, Darcy just asked the same question. Yeah, bring it. Like, that's guaranteed money. That's fine. Would take that. Yes. Yes.
Will they give it?
So it depends on what Section 8 you have. In Spokane, so the answer in short is yes, you can use Section 8 vouchers for this. The longer answer is a conversation with the housing authority to ensure that they would use it for home ownership, because a cooperative is considered home ownership. And so the housing authority would need to consider it for home ownership. Is that possible? Yes. We collect Section 8 for some of our residents in Moses Lake because Grant County says, yes, I agree with that. That's a conversation. So the answer is yes, it is very possible. It is working with our housing authority to ensure that they understand the opportunity. Yes.
And say mom pays the 10-50K to
Mhm.
get in. Will Social Security go, oh, no, you can't do that?
If
If you're giving money, we want some of this money back.
Disability is.
Yeah, so it depends on so that's an attorney question. So I'm going to say it just depends on how we run it through and make it possible. The $10,000 to $50,000 is not like the 33 cooperatives that we have, their share loan is $1,000. And so the $10,000 to $50,000 it doesn't have to be. It could be $1,000. It could be $5. Like, there is no hard rule of how much that share is or has to be. It really comes down to what is the difference between what the lender is going to give you for the buying the asset and what you need to make up in the difference. And if we can make up the difference with grants and other different sources of funding, then we can continue to lower that share loan as much as possible. Does that make sense?
So actually, to clarify her question, that I see where you're coming from.
I mean, they make
I,
$800 and they want us to pay that
yeah,
back.
and when you report back to or whoever,
Mhm.
individual,
Mhm.
they ask, what is your ask?
Yeah.
What you're saying is that this as a business is you're invested in the business, but not as an individual, and I guess that's where the question is.
So each person, everybody is entitled of ownership of one real estate interest. regardless of your IDB or, right?
You're right.
And so there is case law that does say that a member in a cooperative counts as ownership interest in real estate, not business. And so there is case law that says that if your child joins the cooperative, that is their single interest in real estate. That is, they are
There
allotted.
is, and that's case law.
There's,
Okay.
yeah, there is law that says that.
That's- Hey,
Yeah, and so where you get that money from, that $10,000 to $50,000, that's gonna be slightly complicated, right? We're gonna have to make sure that we don't violate like social security or other things, right? Grants is gonna be the easiest way to get, right? Like that's just clean and simple. That doesn't come from anybody's asset or anything like that, right?
well, speaking as a, as a parent of an individual that would be involved in this. I've actually looked into this as being the, purchaser of that 30%. And, so I have spoken to a couple of banks who will do something creative. However, they give you, some assurance that if this falls through, like in a year, that, you know, we only pay the fees for that, our portion of that 30%. So I didn't approach it as a cooperative.
Yeah.
So it would be more a question, I don't know if you
Yeah,
know
and
what
so,
I'm talking about. See, so right now, if I went out and got a conventional loan, there's no guarantee here, if the whole thing fell apart, you know, I would be responsible.
right, and that's why
Yeah.
you're not gonna get you're not getting a conventional mortgage
Right.
on that 10 to 50. On that share loan, you're not getting, because it's a membership interest in a business,
Right.
there's nothing to secure it against, which is why you're getting a personal loan, which is why grants are the easiest solution to that, unless you have like straight out cash to put towards it, which you may or may not have. I'm gonna keep going.
Right,
Okay. No. Okay. All right, great. We're already on to yellow section. We're good. All right, what if a member moves out? We talked a little bit about this. If a member moves out, they are selling their share. So they put $10,000 in and they want to move out, they can sell that $10,000, their membership interest into the cooperative, that's the share. They're selling their membership interest into the cooperative. It has a resale restriction, which is typically 3 to 5% of year over year. You can make it super complicated. The cooperative determines what this is. If it's 3 to 5%, if it's 10%, if it's simple or compound interest, whatever. Simpler is better in my opinion, but the cooperative can make it whatever it is. That gives the exiting member a modest financial gain, but also keeps it permanently affordable. So this is again thinking against what market would be. This is permanently affordable because market is going to increase way higher at a way higher rate than 3 to 5%. And then to make this all possible, the board of directors and the property management company work with the individual to sell their share. We feel that once this gets going, that there's going to be other interest into this and into this opportunity, and that there will be most likely like a wait list that is developed of people that are interested. And so that person exiting the cooperative would then be able to sell that share to individuals on the wait list. I think to your point about in the event of a death, you would want to most likely put that membership interest in some sort of will or document that says the surviving whoever would be able to take that membership interest, and then you would be able to sell that membership interest just as the member had they exited the cooperative. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Can you hold it?
sure.
Okay. Our members, renters or homeowners, we talked a little bit about this. Members of the cooperative are homeowners. They are They have a personal and financial interest in the building where they live and co-own it with other cooperative members. So it's similar to an HOA, but the goal of a limited equity cooperative is to keep housing affordable and to give real people real control over the place where they live. So this sounds super complicated, right? It very much is. I will tell you, like, there's not very many people that have this, like, understand a limited equity cooperative. That is where we come in. We provide ongoing support to that limited equity cooperative. We've been doing this since 2008. Like I said, we support 33 right now. We would be supporting them, providing guidance, going to board meetings, coaching the individuals, empowering the individuals, teaching individuals. We spend so much time talking about what is a profit and loss statement and how to read financial statements. And, the cooperatives that we currently serve, they are like educated individuals that have higher degrees and all like have worked for the state in some cases. And you're like, we have a cooperative in Tumwater that a lot of those individuals have worked for the state in different agencies. And they look at the profit and loss statement for their multi-million-dollar business and their eyes gloss over. So we spend a lot of time coaching individuals. What is a profit and loss statement? How do you maintain your assets that you own? They bought a $10 million asset. How do you maintain it? How do you find vendors? How do you work with a property management company? Those are all, we have a staff of 19 that's what we do. We work with people to empower them to understand they are owners of this business. They never thought that they would be able to own a $10 million asset. They now own it, and we coach them through that process. Most lenders are also going to require that the cooperative signs an agreement with us to provide that coaching. Most lenders are not even going to give the cooperative that $70,000 or 70% loan to value without that signed agreement. It's that further protects the cooperative, that further protects the investment from the bank to ensure that there's another group of people. We don't have a vote. We are not members of the cooperative, but we advise the cooperative. Power of attorney. So who is the member of the cooperative? What if somebody has a power of attorney? What if somebody doesn't have concern about limited cognitive skills, right? Traditionally, in a cooperative, that the member is the person who lives in that building. There is no law that says that has to be what it is. The benefit and the joy of a cooperative is that every cooperative is unique and different. Mm-hmm. And so as we're building home together here, as we're building this cooperative, we can think beyond that typical membership status. And we can say that the membership is a combination of the individual and their power of attorney, or their parents, or their trust, or the attorney that actually represents them, right? The cooperative would still want to say one member, one vote, but how that vote decision is made would really be up to that member and that member's family and caregivers and power of attorney that are over that member. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Before I move to the next slide, questions about those 3 slides? Yes.
So if a member is moving out and they can't find somebody to pay the $10,000, are they still responsible for the $1,000 a month or whatever number it is?
They wouldn't. It depends. No. They would be who absorbs that 1,000. So no, it would. So in the cooperative's annual pro forma annual budget, that's the word, annual budget, they're going to allocate an account for some loss. So they're going to make an assumption that during the next 12 months, at some point in time, somebody's gonna be gone for a month, or somebody's, a unit's gonna be vacant for a couple months, and so there's always a vacancy, like, reduction, yeah.
Got it.
Is there something written in there?
Who pays for your services?
The cooperative. So we would, that's a line item in their monthly budget that the cooperative would be paying for our services. I will tell you that we're really cheap. We're very, very cheap. And typically what it is it's 50 basis points of the total loan. And that means that it's 0.5% of the total loan is what we get paid. And so I don't know where that came from. I didn't make that up. That's just like a thing that's actually like pretty common practice and has been for 40 some years. I don't know where that came from, but that's how much we're paid. We're cheap.
I'm not sure whether this gets covered later, but, so most of your units that you, or cooperatives that you get involved with, are they, purchasing loans for new construction, old construction, pre-existing construction?
Conversion. So we are converting, like, conversion, so that most. So the question, if you guys didn't hear on the Zoom, is are the cooperatives that we're working with new development or existing? And existing is easy. Existing is actually better, and it's better to purchase something that already exists. It's cheaper to purchase something that already exists, assuming that it's not like falling down, right? Assuming that it's in repairable condition, if not great condition. So we're just purchasing from current landlords and purchasing existing housing.
So are you the one, is your, service involved in existing housing, trying to fill all those units then?
Yeah, so we would be working with so that's the purpose of these meetings right now, is to have a conversation, to see if there's interest. You know, we're not going to go out and purchase a building, and, you know, Parkview Services in Northwest Cooperative Development Center. Like I said, we have some pretty good interest from like the state and some different foundations across the region that are interested in this model. They're very curious, like, wow, that seems pretty empowering and powerful. But we're not going to go and purchase a multifamily building unless we know that people actually want to live in there and that this is like a viable thing. So that's why we had the meeting in January. This meeting, we're going to have one in March. And our goal, and we can have one in April and May and June, we can keep having these meetings, but our goal is to get about 10 to 15 individuals that raise their hands, or families that raise their hand and say, yeah, we want this for our son, our daughter, our nephew, or whoever we're caring for, because we see this as a viable option. So we're not going to, if you know, after June, we have like one person that's like, yeah, this is a good idea, then we'll probably just drop it and not keep going, right? But we don't want to purchase if there's not an interest in it. One question online here is there something in writing in the cooperative's governing documents that would ensure that the membership share is transferred to somebody with an IDD, or that somebody with an IDD is part of this? And yes, that would be written into the cooperative's governing documents. And Fair Housing would say that you can put that into the governing documents because you can develop housing for specific protected classes. So yes, we would put that into the cooperative's governing documents. One of the conversations that we've been having with Parkview is, do we want all of the units? Does this cooperative want all of the units for somebody with an IDD? Could it look like maybe half, like if we have a 10-unit apartment building, half are for an individual with an IDD and half are for anybody else? Maybe the other 5 are filled with their caretakers or their in-home care providers. Maybe they're just filled with Joe Blow from the street, right? So does it And that would be created with the cooperative, with the people that raise their hand and say, yes, we like this. We would explore that conversation. There is benefit in that. There's also downsides. Like we would want to have that conversation with everybody. Hold on. What proof of disability would be required? Again, we would explore that with that cooperative. What would we want? What would we consider as a qualifier, right? The cooperative would set that up, would make that
See,
determination.
Because those kinds of issues would, predetermine what kind of existing housing we would be looking at.
Right. Mhm. From an accessibility standpoint.
Right. and,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a number of issues.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's where we want to see who are the 10 people. And then from that, then we will find what we need and we will create the cooperative business for those 10 people. We'll find the housing for those 10 people. If the house, to your point, like if the housing does not exist, then let's build it, right? Let's look at building the housing that's needed for those 10 people. But we don't, Parkview Services and NWCDC, we don't want to do that. We want to build it we want to build that cooperative business with those individuals, with those families, in collaboration with. There are many affordable housing developments all across our city, right? We see them all the time. They're not built with, they're just built for, and then they're filled. And we value the idea of building it with that individual. Okay, I have one more slide. I think, maybe two. We want to make sure that we're clear that the cooperative does not provide it like the in-home care. This is not care. So if your loved one has care, they would have to arrange for that themselves. That's remains independent and individual. Okay, so what's next? Like I said, we want 10 to 15 individuals by June. Once we have that, then we will build the business. Then we will find the property. I mean, my role specifically is building the property or building the business and finding the property. I spend a lot of time looking at property across Spokane, probably too much time. There's things out there. It depends. Like, are we talking, in North Spokane, there's actually 3 connected duplexes that are like right in a little, or maybe it's 4 duplexes with a little courtyard in between. Well, that'd be really cool. Because then everybody could kind of have their own unit, or maybe 2 people go together. And those 2 people going together share the expenses. So if they needed to pay $1,000 a month and they wanted to live together and be roommates, then they each would just have $500 that they needed to contribute for their specific unit, right? So I don't know, that would be kind of cool, but maybe we don't want that. Maybe that doesn't work for the people that are here, that are the 10 to 15 individuals. Maybe you really want to live in downtown Spokane and you want a 15-unit apartment building. We're looking at something different then. So we would look at the properties, we would look at the cooperative business, we would structure it, the cooperative would purchase, and then the cooperative would own and operate with support from us and Parkview Services in perpetuity. So that's the plan, that's the vision. That's what I'm here to talk to you guys today about. And there's some contact information for us, for myself and Zach, who is not here right now. That's the end of the presentation. And I'm sure you all have questions. And more questions.
I'll definitely do some research, but, have you done something like this before?
No.
These 33?
No, so this would actually be the first of its kind in the country. There is not this in the country. And so this would be the first of the kind, which is, I think, that is A, really cool, and B, really scary, because you're trying to protect assets, you're trying to protect individuals, right? This is scary. So that seems like well, that's cool and scary simultaneously. And as I tell my children, you can have two feelings at once and that's okay. But that's where we would bring in, like, I've already started having conversations with a national cooperative attorney to make sure, like, to can they have an asset question, right? Is there case law that would ensure protection that any individual can have a single interest in a real estate? And there's case law that says that a cooperative membership is an interest in real estate. So yes, that works. It's not an interest in a business, it's an interest in a real estate. So we would have a lot of conversations with disability attorneys, with CPAs, with financial advisors to make sure everybody is set up so we don't have problems.
So what is your model? I mean, I'm sorry, I thought you've done this before, no?
No, we've done cooperatives before, but a cooperative
Oh,
with individuals with an IDD, that has not been done.
Well, trial and error, I've experimented on my own, so I definitely have some ideas. But I would say, first, it really depends on the 10 individuals that you families of the 10.
Mhm.
That's probably the biggest.
but think of it, if you have 20 people.
Oh, if we have 20, we would form two. And so we would
We would like.
form two different groups.
Okay, well, all right, who decides who moves in though? Who's
Right.
You know, like, my deal is my daughter's, she has a place of her own, she's lonesome,
Yeah,
she's lonesome. I mean, and some, you know, do they vote people in or off the island or?
yeah, so. Yeah, well, so that is now a fair housing violation. So you can't do that because, we see this in the cooperatives that we work with, and we have to remind them all the time that that's a fair housing violation.
What is?
So in the cooperatives that we work with, membership eligibility is someone older than 18. That's basically the whole entire group of people, right? So they cannot discriminate, they cannot favor an applicant, they cannot give an applicant entry into the cooperative. So this is an actual example. I have a cooperative that I'm working with. The individual that applied to be a resident has a criminal history and a pretty terrible credit score. She also happens to be the niece of the president of the cooperative. Well, if she wasn't the niece, they wouldn't allow her into the cooperative because of her criminal history and poor credit score. But then the board's like, oh, it's his niece, we should just let her in. And I had to coach them and say, no, you can't do that because that would be a fair housing violation because you wouldn't do that for anybody else. So
Bylaws about what happens to people when they don't live up to those bylaws.
yeah, so
We get them out that way.
yeah, oh, so that's what we'll end up doing. So yes, you have community rules. So like legally speaking, in a cooperative, the cooperative has community rules. And if they start violating those community rules, a good example is it's supposed to be quiet after 10 p.m. And Darby over here keeps blaring his music at midnight sorry, Darby. Every night Darby's blaring his music at midnight. So the property manager is going to come in. So the cooperative is going to hire a property manager. The property manager is going to come in and say, hey, Darby, you have a rule violation. And then Darby's like, I don't care. I'm still going to play my music. And then Darby would get so many rule violations. And then at a certain point, and this is all laid out in the cooperative's rules and bylaws and stuff. And then at a certain point, the board of directors would say, he's failing to comply with the community rules. What we're going to do is take away his membership. And so when you take away his membership, you revoke the membership of the resident. Then what that triggers then is now Darby becomes a renter from the cooperative. He could sell his share at this point too. but now Darby becomes a renter from the cooperative. Now Darby has renter protections from the cooperative. And the cooperative would move forward with the eviction process to remove Darby. And so you're not gonna get removed, so don't worry about that. But they would,
Darby.
but he would have access to an attorney, he would have access to mitigation and mediation and supportive services from a renter standpoint. But the cooperative would be moving forward with eviction to remove him. And then he would be able to sell his share and exit the cooperative. So that, yes, that does happen, and it really would. It more likely would happen if you stopped paying your carrying charge. If you stop paying, part of your obligation as a member is to pay that monthly fee. And if you stop paying that monthly fee, that becomes a burden on the cooperative business. And so they would go through that same process for that. And it does happen, like people are people and do things. So yes, yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Darby went hypothetically from being a member to being a renter. How is that rent? Would be the same cost, or would the board of directors or other members vote on the rent of someone who's not within the membership would pay?
Yeah. So it would be different than, it would be a different charge, right? So when we convert, many of the cooperatives that we convert, we don't require people to join membership at the time of conversion. Like, what we have done, all of what we've done is converting existing housing into cooperative ownership. We don't require an individual to join the membership at that time. They then are just renters from the cooperative, and their rent is often $100 more per month than the members' carrying charge or fee. Their rent is actually often $100 more per month because their rent is income to the cooperative business as income. And so it costs the cooperative more because it's income. Members' carrying charge is not income because it's the business owner's contribution to the operating expenses. So it's not taxable income. You won't get kicked out. You're fine.
Any partners for housing, this,
We are, Parkview Services, I know, has a lot of relationships and connections with community here in Spokane. And so, yes, I believe that they are working to try
I'll
to spread the
listen to-
word. I also have flyers that you guys can take and share this information with people that you think would be interested in this or want to learn more about what this is and this opportunity. And like I said, I recorded this, so we will put this on YouTube, and you can also share the link with people that may or may not be able to attend in person. Yes, go ahead.
never mind. I mean, how, you would have the property, you would buy something perhaps, that would be needing some renovations or whatever. I mean, how do we go into it, hoping you're gonna actually do that, or are we gonna see it when it's all nice and done and decide if we wanna go in?
We're gonna do it together. So like, the vision is that we're doing this together. That you, or maybe not you, but whoever raises their hand and they say, we are on board for that bumpy ride, let's figure it out together. And we would do it together. If you're like, you know what, I am not a roller coaster person, that doesn't like jive with me, the bumpiness is not something that I'm comfortable with, I will see if it works. And if it works, I'll put my loved one on the wait list. If that's you, that's great. Like, I get that. I also don't do the roller coaster. So, I get that. But you're gonna need to decide, are you gonna go bumpy and build the ship with us, or see if the ship sails? I don't know the answer. And the other thing is, like, we might not even build the ship, right? If we don't find those people that are really interested in this, we're not going to build the ship. And maybe we just keep having these meetings for every month for the next 2 years until we find 10 people. And that's what we do. Yeah.
How do you keep
Wow.
unit from becoming a magnet for people who would love to take advantage of all of those people living there.
From like a salesperson perspective or like,
Salesperson,
predator.
somebody finds out, oh, they're living
I
in
can't
this
just
community
buy
and they're
anything
all
to buy
people
him.
with
I couldn't
disabilities
do
and
that.
they probably love to be my best friend and give me 50 bucks.
Off the street could come.
yeah,
No,
that
they
is,
have 50,000.
I think that that's part of the question
Yes.
and part of the potential
What is it?
benefit of having it be half are individuals with an IDD and half are regular Joe Blows, right? Or you could make it so that we could really get creative and like partner with Thrive, and half of them are immigrants from like living in Spokane. Like we could get real creative, but like you could that's one of the benefits of potentially doing it kind of that way, structuring it that way. I think the other one is I think that we will need to find a property management company that will work in partnership, that will have on-site offices, right? That will help protect against that. Finding,
Maybe one of them lives there.
right, like, and that's where what building is purchased, maybe not the duplexes. That's really open and exposed, right? So if there's actual deep concern that we would have like a situation where vulnerable people are taken advantage of, that's probably not the best one. Maybe an apartment building with a key padded access is a better opportunity. So depends. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Well, you also mentioned in the beginning that, hey, it could be, just a residential house or a duplex or something. And say an average or a small house in Spokane was like, $300,000, well, now how would that work? You wouldn't have 10 or 12 people, you just have
Yeah.
two.
So this is why we want the question, if you guys didn't hear on the Zoom, is why not just go purchase a big house in Brown's Edition, right? The challenge with the big house in Brown's Edition is that is like 3, 5, maybe 6 bedrooms. So that's like 6 people living in there. There's a couple challenges. One, 6 people then are completely responsible for all the financials that every time you knock a number, it gets tighter and tighter and more dependent on those individuals. 2, you have to have a 5-person board of directors. That means like if you have a 6-person house, one person feels weird all the time. And then you're constantly having to serve on the board of directors, which you're making business decisions. That's tiring. That's a lot. So you never have a break from that. So 10 to 15 is the minimum number of people that we would want in a cooperative. Truly, if 20 people came forward and 20 people said like, yeah, this is kind of what we're thinking, and they had a shared vision, we would probably just keep it a 20-person cooperative. For us, we typically say the minimum is 25, 20 can work. We're saying 10 to 15 here because we're trying to gauge interest. But really, if 20 people did come forward, we would just stick with a 20-person cooperative unless there was a valid reason to divide the people half and half or something like that. Yeah.
So what is your input so far? You've had only one other meeting or?
We've only had one other meeting. This meeting had more people register. So we're seeing a growing interest in it. I think you all, I'm sure, are like, that sounds good enough, but I don't know, right? Yeah.
Uncharted waters.
It's uncharted waters. And so I think that's why we set like a deadline of June, because people need a deadline to say like, yes, I'm going to do that and take that roller coaster ride with you, or no, I will not, because otherwise humans will hem and haw over decisions all the time, right? So good it has been our reception so far, but we'll see when June happens if we move forward.
Well, because there's been a few people trying, in the past, like, Ohana, I was thinking Ohana, and that was from what I understand, it just big interest in it, some big donations and stuff, and then it just, just fizzled.
Yeah.
And, you see it.
Mark at Parkview Services is very committed to this. He really, really wants to see this happen. So I don't see this actually fizzling. I see that if we don't get the interest in June, I would say that Mark is going to send us back out to the streets in August and hit the pavement again and try it again, because I think for us, we are also really committed to this. We also we believe in this opportunity. Cooperatives empower everyday individuals to own and operate a business, and that's really what they do. And we see this program taking it one step further and really empowering individuals that might have been excluded from the home ownership opportunity to really get into that space, and realizing that equity gain is maybe not the most important aspect of home ownership for those individuals, but autonomy and democratic decision making and control over their lives. That's an aspect of home ownership that they are not able to access right now. Yes.
I just about the Ohana thing, part of what went wrong with the Ohana dream, I think, was, how long ago did Deb start quoting Ohana? 10 years ago? She was talking 300,000 buy-in, and I get nothing. For most of us, don't. If we have a disabled kid, we don't have $300,000 to buy a grant.
Right.
We just don't.
Yeah.
Like in Chimney Rock, only people with disabilities. And Chimney Rock, yeah, it's a cooperative on some.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but.
Yeah.
It's a $500,000.
Yeah,
To get
yeah.
there, and that was kind of fun money.
Yeah, yeah.
So that, yeah, I would agree with him. So I actually looked into this, briefly with financing. So generally speaking, she's right, we're the ones that financing, so trying to find financial institutions that would understand this piece.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that I do. One of my jobs is to partner with financial institutions. There are several here in Spokane that are very interested in this. In their credit unions, and so they are mission aligned. I had lunch with one earlier this week, and I mentioned this project, and he was like, "Oh, I went in on that. How can I be in on that?" So they would be able to create a loan product, a share loan product for this opportunity. He's also very interested in creating housing for veterans with traumatic brain injuries, TBIs. It's like, oh, it's another opportunity. And that's a specific group of individuals that have a hard time accessing homeownership. Yeah.
So if we're like gung ho, yes, we're in, what would the next step be?
Shoot Zach and I an email, or me an email, or Zach. We talk all the time, and we'll put you on the list. Yeah.
On the funding side, would you have someone on your staff or on your team that would be like searching for grants for individuals as they're interested in that process to help them get their share covered?
Yes. Yeah. Both Parkview Services and us have been awarded money from the state that could be applied to this project already. And I think that we would be able to look at additional money from the state as well.
You guys could be offering grants.
Yeah.
And searching for grants elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
It seems like, once young person graduates, out of the education system, it's so hard for you to contact them, the parents, and it's very, so, there's some other, there's Project ID and, the ARC, and I wondered if, with, trying to partner with those, groups, do a presentation.
Yeah. And so Loretta, who lives in Spokane, was just on and then jumped off. She's sick today, but she has all of those relationships and all of those conversations. So she's been reaching out and having those conversations. I know last month, people took the flyer and gave it to high school counselors. So like current high school counselors for individuals that are graduating right now, like, here is an opportunity for your son or daughter, right?
Okay, is there, would you share names of people that were interested where we could get together and, where these people could meet?
So, and
With perhaps future residents and stuff, without actually getting down and signing on the bottom line?
yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that we can talk about. We would want to talk with those individuals to make sure that they're comfortable with that before we did that. But yes, I think there is this real, and you asked about, do we develop housing and build housing or convert? So there's this really real thing about, like, do you like your neighbor, right? And so when you build housing, and this is true for any rental environment, when you build housing, the first person that moves in, those people have to either gel or they leave, right? You're neighbors with these people, especially in apartment housing. And so there is some value in that, but that's why we also want to make sure that we have the people there before we build, if we have to build housing, that those people gel and they work and those people work together. Because the last thing that we want to do is build a brand new state-of-the-art 15-unit multifamily building. Then they all move in together and then they all suddenly hate each other and everybody moves out. And then we have some financial situations and it's terrible and it's awful, right? And it's not even based on like financial problems. It's like they could have actually lived together and they didn't like each other, which is real, right? And so, yeah, so to your point, yes, also kind of why we're not looking to build housing. We would want to convert. Yeah.
What kind of membership terms do you have in your existing co-ops from that kind of perspective?
Like so little.
Yeah.
People don't leave. They get kicked out because they play their music at midnight when they come in. Yeah, I mean, most people don't leave. It's like the co-op in Mead. Why would you leave? You're paying $380 a month. Like, if you like your neighbors well enough, you're staying. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions online? I think Darcy, I answered your questions. Okay. All right. I am going to stop recording.